Hello and welcome to the League One Lowdown here on the Deck Network. My name is Sam, and as always, I am joined by fresh from his holiday, Mr. Callum Davis. How are we, Callum?
Hello, Sam. I'm not too bad. Not the warmest of holidays. If I don't know if anyone listening is an expert in Eastern European weather, but it's been fairly frozen over in Bucharest. So my 2 nights there were spent in the snow, which has been fun. But keeping watch from abroad, and as soon as I go abroad, Lincoln City decide to start winning, which we'll touch on in a minute. But yeah. I'll take it. I might go on more holidays, Sam.
I do recommend holidays.
They're quite fun.
Just a bit. So as always, we start with our prediction league update. So last week we both scored 6 points. So one correct score each, 3 correct outcomes. So the scores don't really change. The gap to Callum still leads by 12 points in total. So it's still quite a healthy lead. I'd say probably at least a couple of good weeks in the lead. If you're unaware of what the punishment is at the end of the season, if I lose, I have to buy a Lincoln City shirt at the end of the season, and if Callum loses, he has to buy an Orient shirt with League One playoff champions on the back of it.
Don't, because it's looking very likely. I don't like that idea.
I'm very much liking the idea of it. So we start with a quick recap of Tuesday. Bear in mind there was quite a lot of midweek games. First of all, we should say well done to Birmingham City. They are going to Wembley for the first time since the League Cup final they had, which I believe they actually won. So congratulations to Birmingham City. You enjoy your trip at Wembley.
A song and dance about it, did they, by beating League Two Bradford City? Congratulations.
And all their Birmingham fans are now in the comments. And if you are in the comment section, please make sure you subscribe. 79% of you listening still aren't subscribed. That would be very much appreciated.
Whilst you're there, after I've just annoyed you, you can hit subscribe as well if you want.
Yeah, you did royally annoy half of Birmingham, I think, last week, Callum. So please stay away from there.
Well, I'll try not to say too much, but if they actually listened to what we were talking about in the podcast, they realised the team that I thought was arrogant wasn't Birmingham City. So there you go. Although after Tuesday, I might take that back.
And now they're going back to the comment section.
Oh dear.
So well done to Birmingham City. The only downside to that was the stretchered off Jay Stansfield. There was an update as of this morning. They can't see any bone or ligament damage, so he will now be assessed ahead of this weekend's game and next Tuesday's game against Leyton Orient. Speaking of Orient, they won against Wrexham away on Tuesday with 10 men. It's their 12th win in 15 league games, drawing 2 and losing the other one. It's now a second league home defeat in a row for Wrexham after they lost 3-2 to Stevenage. Wrexham kind of now falling a little bit away, 5 points off second place, having now played the same amount of games. It's their away form that is kick him in the backside, so to speak. And they don't really have a plan B, to be honest, Wrexham. They spent all this money on attackers, and they didn't look any more threatening than when they had Paul Mullin, Ollie Palmer, and people like that. I know it takes a little while to get strap partnerships, but no real plan B for Wrexham.
No, and quite frustratingly, that result has kind of really stretched the pack out. I mean, it was always going to, I suppose, but now, like, you look at the top 6, they're really stretched out, and then other than maybe Charlton, Bolton, and Reading, I suppose, there's not really many tight battles at the top, and our attention's kind of turning towards the bottom. So, gosh darn Leyton Orient for making the league slightly boring with your amazing form, but I suppose I'll have to wait and see. Out of the top, of the teams in the playoffs, I don't know which one you could see dropping out. You wouldn't say Orient would drop out given their great form. You'd think Huddersfield would slowly have the quality to stay in there. So I don't know which one of those 4 teams will drop out, if any.
No, it's interesting because Orient obviously had Wrexham on Tuesday. They've got Bolton away this Saturday. They've got Birmingham away next Tuesday. The following Saturday, they've got Charlton at home, and then they've got Rotherham away. So it's these tricky run of fixtures. If they can get them out of the way and they're still in the playoff places, then I will be a very confident Leyton Orient fan, shall we say, going into the business end of the season. Your team, yes. Your team, Lincoln City, actually scored 3 goals away from home against Mansfield, who have now conceded 3 goals or more in 3 consecutive games and have lost 7 in a row. Nigel Clough said after that game that his team have been in a relegation battle all season. I think that's to try and take some of the sting out of what their form on the pitch at the moment.
It's kind of to adjust expectations, I suppose, with Mansfield. But you look at their form, and it is just terrible. Like I can't, you can't really put into words how bad their recent run form really is. Like I've never seen that much red on a form table at all. So, but in terms of coming it from a Lincoln perspective, obviously, it makes a change to see us score 3 instead of concede 3, even if none of them came from a recognised striker and one of them was a bit of a fluke goal from a corner. No matter what anyone says about corner goals, no one ever actually intends to score them. But Sam Clucas, I'm sure this must be a stat, by the way, and I still can't find it. And I've been looking for ages in terms of record time between first and second appearances for a club. It was something like 5,456 days or something like that for Sam Clucas between his first and second IMS appearance. In his third one, he's got a goal. So yeah, a bit of a nice story that a lot of Lincoln Twitter has been very happy about, but I'm not getting too carried away with it. We're up to 10th, but we've played a game more than the teams behind us. So if they all get points, then we're back down into 13th. So not getting too carried away, but maybe a corner turned for us. We'll see.
Yeah, you never know. You win when you get in the playoffs. I think it's a bit too far off, but you never know.
Yeah,
you never know in
never
football.
know.
You could go on a run, win 9 of your last 14 games, and you never know. I think you roughly need 75 points this year probably to get into the playoffs.
I think that's probably a bit too far away, but we'll see.
Huddersfield Town got their second win in a row against Shrewsbury Town in what was an extremely equal affair. Another narrow defeat for Shrewsbury Town. Near enough every defeat bar one very early in Ainsworth's tenure has near enough been by 1 goal. So Shrewsbury are in every game, but they're just falling the wrong side of results at the moment. Obviously, I've gone on record saying many times that I think Ainsworth keeps Shrewsbury up. I suppose these types of games don't really define their season.
No, and for Huddersfield, these are the types of results they need. You know, if they'd have failed to get 3 points here, they'd have been down to 6th, which I'm not sure that might be the lowest they've been for quite some time in the league. Yeah, it's the type of results that Huddersfield need to make sure they get the playoffs at least. But it's also not the type of results that's going to define Shrewsbury's season. You know, the games that they've got. I'm not sure they're still yet to play off the top of my head, but you know, the likes of Wigan, Exeter, Bristol Rovers, Northampton Town, that kind of pack that's just above the drop. Those are the games that I think Shrewsbury should be focusing on coming up, really. And I suppose you could kind of class Stevenage this weekend as that as well, maybe.
Yeah, that is one of the games we will get onto a bit later. And finally, from Tuesday night, Crawley and Burton both picked up vital victories. Crawley are now just 2 points. Crawley drew while Burton win. So Crawley are now just 2 points behind Peterborough United, who are still clinging on for dear life. And Burton Albion 2 points off Peterborough as well. I think we were pretty haste. Well, I was especially pretty haste in going goodbye to Crawley Town. Rob Elliott's completely turned it around with 2 wins in 6 and 2 draws with 2 defeats. And it's 1 defeat in 8 for Burton Albion in an appointment we weren't overly sure on in Gary Bowyer, but he seems to have turned everything around for them.
And the more you look at that Burton, I mean, I've not really seen much about the game, but on face value, went 1-0 up, went down to 10 men, but still hung on for 3 points away at Stevenage. That is an incredible result. Like that, not many teams would be able to do that. I doubt Lincoln City would be able to do that. At least coming from my perspective, we've seen what Lincoln are like recently. So incredible result for Burton Albion, and yeah, we'll see. Peterborough fans, it's now just 2 points above the relegation. So I remember we were talking 5 and we were thinking, nah, that'll be all right. Then it got down to 3 the other week, and we were just like, oh, is it getting a bit tasty? It's now 2 points, and if we're considering Charlton and Bolton as potential playoff challengers, we've got to be considering, well, Peterborough well, we already were, but Peterborough definitely relegation fodder at this point.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Shrewsbury's next 5. They've got Stevenage at home this Saturday. Next Saturday, they've got Peterborough away. Massive. The Tuesday, they've got Bristol Rovers at home. Massive.
Huge.
Then they've got Exeter away. Massive. And then they've got Burton at home. This is
Huge.
a big, big next 30 days for Shrewsbury Town in terms of their League One survival.
Yeah,
they need
it's going to be a big
win the home ones. Win the home ones.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this relegation battle plays out because, you'd argue if Nigel Clough is classifying Mansfield as potentially relegation candidates, we've got 15 or so games. Sometimes some teams have got 16, some teams have got 14, where all the teams 14th and below who are only 9 points clear, we could be considering that as the relegation scrap. And we know what some managers are like in their stability. Some managers that we'll talk on in a minute are under a lot of pressure at the moment. And we very much could see some managers lose their job as we head towards the run into the season. It's all about how do teams position themselves. And, I don't want to say a Burton or Crawley going too early, but if they have their form push now, are they going to run out of steam at the end of the season? That sort of thing. It's a massive horse race, isn't it? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we're getting to the point of the season where we're going to start picking teams to talk about. So if your team's in mid-table, your Stevenages, probably your Rotherhams, your Blackpools, you probably won't be spoken about as much as teams now fighting for things because they're the teams that have the most to be spoken about. So moving on to the game that we have classed as El Sackico for this week. Rotherham United versus Barnsley. Rotherham sitting in 14th place at the moment, with Barnsley sitting in 11th. Two teams who, to be honest, we probably both expected to be at least in the top 10. Rotherham definitely fighting at the right end of the table. Rotherham's last 6 at home is 3 wins, 1 draw and 2 defeats. Barnsley's last 6 away from home have been 3 wins and 3 defeats. But if we dig deeper into Barnsley, they've actually not won at all in their last 6, with 5 defeats and a draw. Rotherham have also only got 1 win in their last 6 with 1 draw and 4 defeats. It's Rotherham's away form that is harming their push to the top of the table, where it's Barnsley's home form that is harming their sort of top 6 hopes. Obviously, there was a bit of mention, I don't know if you've ever seen the rumours about Paul Warne. His name is being touted for a return trip to Rotherham. I mean, he got them promoted when he was there before. I believe he then got them relegated and then got them promoted again. So he knows what he's doing in League One.
Yeah. It's an interesting game, isn't it? And I quite like the fact that this is a 12:31 because, no offense, Reading or Birmingham fans, this will be the game that if I was a fan, if I was a neutral, which I suppose I am in this case, I'd be watching. Two managers who just seemingly aren't getting the best from the resources they've got. Like, I look at both teams and I don't think they've got bad players. I look at the resources that are available to both sides. They've both been in the Championship in recent years. I'm not entirely clued into their, should I say, like their financial situation. Obviously, I know a lot of clubs in League One are losing money, and no team is able to compete really with Birmingham. I suppose Wycombe now, they have quite a bit of backing, and Wrexham and whatnot. It's very hard to compete with those teams. But I would very much guess that Barnsley's budget is probably bigger than Orient's. Yeah, perhaps I'd probably guess. And I'd say the same for Rotherham, really, especially if they can afford to pluck. And I don't want to say an in-demand Steve Evans. I don't think many teams would want him, but a Steve Evans whose stock was high last season. We know, everyone was talking about him last season. Everyone was very impressed with the job he was doing. So he wouldn't have been cheap, I imagine, to pluck from Stevenage. So it's two sides who are really not getting the best out of the resources and the funding that's available to both sides. And I think El Sackico, I don't know whether this will be the final nail in the coffin for either of these two managers, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was. Barnsley are in the same position as Lincoln. And if I was a Barnsley fan, I would not be happy with that.
No.
At all, let alone Rotherham fans.
No, I think Seb's probably in a better place to talk about Barnsley than we are, but we both agreed that they had a very poor January. We gave them, I think, a really poor mark in our January transfer review as well.
It was January deadline day, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That was the shocking bit. That was a
Yeah.
really confusing thing.
It's like you say. I don't know if they'll sack them yet because it's a really difficult run because they play Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. So they've now got 5 games in the space of 2.5 weeks. So it's gonna be very difficult for them to potentially sack a manager in like the haste of all these games. But
Yeah.
to leave it another 5 games till you've got a week break is incredibly risky. I know we've got an international break in around a month's time, but I think we've got about 7-8 games in that period. So by then you're talking you've got 8-9 games left and your season's virtually over. I think for Rotherham, their season is over. They're not going to go down. They're not probably going to fight for top 6. So they're probably looking ahead to next season. Barnsley still have that hope, even if they are now 10 points off. The problem for Barnsley has been scoring goals. I think that's pretty evident. I know they've scored 43 goals this season, but they're relying heavily on Keeler Dunn. And they're an injury away, I think, from not being able to score goals.
Yeah, and their form again is terrible, and the thing is, it's narrow defeats when a team's getting smacked as well, like it's kind of the psychology behind it, and I find it quite interesting to talk about. We do it a lot on this podcast. It's the psychology of the type of defeats you get, and if you lose by 2 goals, you can a lot of the time drum it down to quality. If you lose by 5 goals or whatever on an off day, it's one off day. The manager can just say, you've had a poor shift, let's go again. If you're losing by 1 goal every single week, that's a mindset issue. That's not a quality issue. That's we can't see games out. That's are you sure we've got the quality? What are we doing at this level kind of thing? That's a mindset thing, and that's what worries me about Barnsley is they're losing those types of games. Rotherham, I suppose it's a similar thing, 2-1 to Birmingham, fair enough, but then 2-1 to Shrewsbury, 0-0 against Blackpool, and then 2-1 against Reading. It's those narrow defeats that point to a bit of a mindset issue, and that's why I always, I kind of hinted at it last week with the arrogance of, I believe it was Huddersfield, Huddersfield and Barnsley last week. Maybe arrogance is the wrong word. It's just maybe self-belief. Now they've realised, oh wait, we're not as good as we think we are. Are we actually any good at all? And now it's like this self-belief thing, and now you kind of worry, well, their seasons are probably just going to peter out, and that's why for this game, I kind of just predict it to be a 1-1. For as much as we've talked about it, I think it'll just be a bit meh. I think neither team really has the belief to do much in this game.
I would agree, but I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Yeah.
Which means none of them will get sacked, and we're all going to be all looking like actual idiots for next week.
Well, it gives us a thumbnail for next week. There you go.
Yeah, so I did look at to see if Adam Phillips and Luca Connell, who are arguably 2 of 3 Barnsley's best players, but they've been playing, so they haven't even got that excuse either. Moving on to 2 teams who are now fighting at the wrong end of the table is Northampton and Bristol Rovers. Northampton just about sitting above the bottom 4 points clear versus a Bristol Rovers side who we thought had picked up, especially at home. They're very strong. Away from home, though, 3 wins, 1 draw, and 12 defeats with the 10 goals scored. It's looking bleak away from home for Bristol Rovers, but they'll probably stay up because they're quite a capable team at home and can score goals. Northampton themselves are no mugs at home, 5 wins, 3 draws, and 6 defeats. The only thing for Northampton, is they struggle to score goals. Only 29 scored this season.
Yeah, I look at this game and I kind of think if Bristol Rovers can get 3 points, that's any sort of threat of relegation completely gone. For me, really, for them, like for as much as Mansfield Town kind of say they're in a relegation battle, the only reason for that is because of how bad their form is. If their form was very up and down, we wouldn't even be considering it, I suppose. Like, we're not considering it really for Rotherham. So, and Bristol Rovers, they're ticking along. For as inconsistent as they've been, they're picking up a point. They're picking up 3 points every now and then. Northampton it's a very similar case. Draw, loss, back-to-back wins, and then defeat. It's kind of like we always talk about getting a run of form together, but for sides like Bristol Rovers and Northampton, you're never going to really be able to get a run of form together. But if you just keep those points ticking along, I don't mind it. That's why I can kind of see in this one. Oh, I don't really know. I'll go Bristol Rovers to get an away win. I kind of back it. I'll go 1-0 though. I can't imagine it being a thriller.
Okay. I think it'll be another draw. I think we'll have another 1-1 draw. It'll be Bristol Rovers' second away draw of the season. Just to look at Inigo Calderon's record since going in at Bristol Rovers is 4 wins, 1 draw and 7 losses. So it's probably a bit of the game management from a younger coach that's probably needed. Where on the other side of the table, you've got Kevin Nolan, who has managed before, albeit at Orient and Notts County. But he was under, obviously, David Moyes at West Ham. His record at Northampton is 3 wins, 3 draws and 4 losses. So instead of losing them 2 extra games, he has drawn them. So yeah, he's doing a decentish job at Northampton, who we thought once they lost John Brady would probably struggle to stay up. I think that was fair to say.
I think they're kind of, I don't want to say they're in a fortunate position that there are 5 or 6 worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
But if Peterborough hadn't had the shocking season they have, I think the situation would look a lot worse for them. But I just kind of back them. They're kind of in the form that they were last year, where they're just doing enough to stay above and above the dotted line. And, you have to give them credit for that, I think.
Oh, 100%. Moving on to a team who we haven't given much credit to this season is Cambridge United. Neil Harris is back in the dugout there after joining the club from League Two Gillingham when he didn't do very well. Did quite a decent job at Cambridge. Got touted by Millwall. Went back to Millwall. Got sacked by Millwall or left after a comment he made about the fans. Has now gone back to Cambridge. So if we're going by this logic, he'll be back at Gillingham in about 18 months' time. With Mark Bonner going in as director of football, obviously, he was the manager that they sacked to get Neil Harris in the first place. And he's then gone to Gillingham, quite funnily, and they're not done very well at Gillingham, which is why now he's back at Cambridge. So it's all very confusing what's going on at Cambridge. I think Neil Harris is a very good appointment, but it seems like they're preparing for next year, 8 points from safety. If Neil Harris somehow keeps this Cambridge side up, then
give him the keys to the city.
Yes. They've won 1 of their last 6 at home, which is the worst in the league. And Stockport are facing a Stockport side who are the 3rd most informed team in the league behind Orient and Birmingham. And they're only 6 points off second place Wycombe now as well. So it's all looking very rosy for Stockport.
Yeah, it is. It's Stockport. They're just, I don't want to say they're chundering along, because I kind of said the same thing about Northampton. They're kind of doing what they need to do, and they're in the flow of things really at Stockport at the minute. I should say Neil Harris wouldn't be surprised if he somehow ends up in Cardiff again, like he did in 2019 and 2021. Well, at this logic, he might end up at a League One Welsh side. Or he'll either end up at Newport or Wrexham next. We'll wait and see. But yeah, I think that with no offence to Cambridge, you can't really see them staying up at all at this point. It's just, to me, it's a case of how many. I'll go 3-0 Stockport.
Okay, I've gone for 2-0 to Stockport. So we're on the same wavelength again. We seem to be on the same wavelength quite a lot. Cambridge's home form is 4 wins, 4 draws and 7 defeats across the season. It's their away form. They've only won 1 of their 16 away games this season, which is abysmal. Stockport's away form is 6 wins, 6 draws and 4 defeats. 22 goals scored in that time as well, which is rather impressive away from home. Moving on to a side whose home form is, if I told you it, you probably wouldn't believe it. It's Blackpool. Their home form this season is 2 wins, 10 draws, and 2 defeats. That is Blackpool's home form. They face a Crawley side whose last 6 away from home is 1 win, 1 defeat, and 1 win, 1 draw, and 4 defeats. But they've only lost 2 of their last 6. They're starting to find a little bit of form, especially at home. But Blackpool's last 6 at home, they've drawn all of them, as to be expected. It's fine margins at the moment for Blackpool that are kind of costing them. They've got goals in their side. Neil Annis on loan from Stoke and Tom Bloxham from Shrewsbury have added a bit of creativity and firepower to Blackpool's side, and a bit of pace as well.
I can kind of see this one going exactly as the form books go. Blackpool have got, I don't want to say the form because they're not in form, but Blackpool have got probably the quality, but Crawley have got the momentum, dare I say. Maybe mentally, they're both coming into the game off back-to-back draws, I believe. So I can kind of see this game panning out as a draw. It's just a case of what score draw. I'll go with 1-1, I think. Okay, it's always a safe bet with Blackpool and a draw in it. So
100%. I picked. So we were having a discussion the other day about if you could pick one team from like probably Lincoln below, because I'd class Reading, Bolton, Charlton in that playoff hunt. If you could get one team from Charlton below, Lincoln or below, and getting into the playoffs, I chose Blackpool just because it's them fine margins.
Yeah.
And I think if they get one win at home, they'll go on a little bit of a run.
Maybe, yeah.
Because they can score goals. Like they've scored 26 away and they've scored 19 at home, which is a sign of a team that Steve Bruce is a very experienced manager, and I think will eventually get the balance right.
I just don't know if they've got the. I don't want to say the effort, but they haven't got the. It sounds harsh on Blackpool, but I just don't feel like they've got the energy. I'm not excited by them enough to see them do anything interesting this season, but that might just be me.
Okay. And moving on to a team who have, two teams one who we all expected to do really well, and one team who none of us expected to do very well, given the off the field pitch, is Reading versus Birmingham. Reading just outside the playoff places by 4 points, 11 home wins so far this season, against a Birmingham side who's got the second best away form in the division behind Wycombe, but I believe on points per game, Birmingham have the best away form. They're unbeaten since they lost to Shrewsbury, Birmingham, and obviously have that trip to Wembley, as we mentioned. I think we have to give some credit to a lot of credit to Chris Davis, as much quality as they've bought, he's got the squad playing his style of football. He's got that real buzz back to play for Birmingham, it seems, and he's got that feel-good factor around the place, which, because it could have gone two ways, I suppose. We obviously spoke about Burton signing a lot of players in the summer. Yes, they're not to the same quality, but it's gone horribly wrong. And we've seen teams in the past sign, like you could use Rotherham as an example. They bought a lot of good League One players, and it hasn't gone well. So we should give credit to Chris Davis' staff and the players at Birmingham. And it pains probably you to hear this, Callum, but their fans, after the 7-8 years they've had, probably deserve something to cheer about, because they have stuck with their team. They had bad ownership. The one thing I remember about Birmingham was Lee Clark sprinting down the touchline after Paul Caddis kept them in the Championship.
All I'll say is it's easy to enjoy FIFA when you turn the difficulty down. That's all I need to say on the matter. I just on a completely separate and probably more important point than Birmingham fans getting annoyed that they've brought the League One title, is that of Reading is like we always talk about the ownership situation, but I've not heard much discussion about it really in general.
No.
Ever since they started doing well, it's kind of like one of them that everyone's kind of forgotten. I'm sure fans haven't, but you hear about it more when they're doing poorly, which is to be expected, obviously. But like from a completely neutral point of view, can Reading fans, I don't want to say start kicking off about it again, but please make sure everyone is aware of what your club is going through. Because if you stop doing it now, then owners will start thinking that they can do this more often. That's not the case. So keep your voices up. Unfortunately, during this one, you are probably going to get walloped because it's Birmingham. So I'll go with a 2-0 win to Birmingham.
I'm a bit stuck on this one, and there's a really good page on X. It's called Sell Before We Die, as in DAI. they're the group that I follow in terms of what's going on at Reading in terms of organised process and stuff like that. And they were trying to generate a fund for a sponsorship for a game. Whether the club actually let them do it or not is another story. But if you are interested, it's Sell Before We Die on X. In terms of the game, Reading have drawn one home game all season. I mean, Birmingham are on a run. They're on a mojo. They've got a tricky game, 2 tricky games. I'm potentially going to not live stream the game, but my reaction to Birmingham Orient. I just need to see if I can get my internet to actually be able to do a live stream of the game and a live stream to YouTube. So we'll see, because unfortunately work commitments have stopped me going to that game. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this game.
Yeah, we'll
just
wait
because I need to
how
catch you up.
Like, yeah.
I need to catch you up, so I need to be a little bit different. Moving on to Wycombe, who got their first win under Mike Dodds last time out against a Wigan side who season couldn't have gone really much. Well, it could have gone worse. They could be in the bottom 4. But it's been a pretty boring season for Wigan fans. Nothing to really get excited about. They signed a lot of players in January who weren't up to the level of League One, I personally don't think. Sitting in 16th place, 1 win in their last 6. Wycombe unbeaten in their last 6. They're only 6 points clear of the bottom 4 of Wigan, so they continue this form along with Mansfield and Exeter. You never know, they could get dragged into this relegation dogfight that's going on.
I don't know, Wigan. Wigan are kind of, I've put in the same boat as Northampton. They're just getting points. Whether they deserve those points or not, I'm not hugely clued up on. But I wouldn't want to go to any of their games. I think they, just at a glance, have the fewest goals in their games, even less than Stevenage, which is saying something. Which probably kind of leads me to how I think this game will go. I kind of think Wycombe will win 1-0. I can't really see. It's boring. Like Wigan's games have an average of, I think it's an average of under 2 goals a game. Which, when you compare it to the likes of, just randomly picking out Bolton, who have an average of nearly 3 goals in their games, it's over 3 goals in their games. Like, do you know what I mean? That the imbalance is there. Like Peterborough, for example, that's well over 3, an average of 3 goals a game in there. So Wigan, they're not very interesting. Not in terms of the club. The club is very interesting, but in terms of their season this year, it's not exactly one that will make the highlights reel of their club's history, I don't think.
No, and speaking of games that won't reach probably any highlights reel, was Shrewsbury versus Stevenage. I couldn't think of probably a worse game to actually watch than this game. Stevenage with only 8 away goals this season. Shrewsbury with 18 home goals, but as we've said, a Gareth Ainsworth side isn't a free scoring team, but it's very, very good defensively. No win for 3 in Shrewsbury, but both defeats were by a single goal. They're only 4 points from safety. Stevenage have not won in their last 4 as well. They are keeping their head above water, shall we say, with 12 points clear. So I don't think they're in any danger. And I think the job Alex Ravel done has to be credited. I think this season we all 4 of us thought they'd probably go down when Steve Evans left, but it's kind of put a dampener on Steve Evans' reputation a little bit, because Ravel's just gone in, continued his work, and he's done no worse, really. They've just been in mid-table all season, and that's where they finished last year. So well done to Alex Ravel and Stevenage. You're bloody boring, but you're a stable League One club, it seems.
Yeah, but I think Stevenage will have I don't want to say the desire in this one, but I just think that they're in need of the points more, I guess. You want to get to that 1 point a game ratio, which I believe in Football Manager terms is known as the Kev ratio, for those who are in the know of that. Yeah. I'll go 1-0 Shrewsbury, I think, in this game.
Exactly the same as what I've got in that one. Moving on to Lincoln versus Burton, a team you used to hate, Callum, in Burton, and the team you support, Lincoln City. I'll let you take the reins with this one.
I've come round to Burton, and now I'm very worried about this game. I'm very, very worried about this game. Lincoln's record against the bottom 4, which, like we say, it's been the bottom 4 pretty much since match week 5, I think, off the top of my head. Like, it's been very, very similar. Lincoln's record against them is terrible. 7 points from a possible 15.
Yeah.
Granted, all those games, well, they've played all of the away games and they've only played one home game against the bottom four, but it's still terrible form. I want to predict a Lincoln win. Our record against Burton Albion is something of an up and down relationship, but there tends to be goals in this game from memory. I think the start of the season was it 3-2 off the top of my head. So I'll bet Lincoln to go 3-2 again. Do you know what? Why not? I'll go 3-2 again, just like the opening day. I was going to go 2-2 until I just remembered what the start of the season was like, and I'll go 3-2. Why not?
Yeah, that is 7th versus 9th in the form table, that one. I've gone for 2-1 to Burton, so I've gone the other way. So moving on to Bolton versus Leyton Orient. I've been very complimentary of Orient. They're the best team in the division, other than since the 1st of December, only Birmingham City have picked up more points. Let's put it that way. They've won 5 of their last 6 away games, scoring 17 goals and drawing and only conceding the 5. Bolton have had a mixed start to Stephen Schumacher's reign. Their last 6 home games have won 3 wins, 1 draw, and 2 defeats, but they've scored 14 goals and conceded 10. So it should be probably I'd say a really good game of football, this one. The last visit to Bolton Orient lost 3-2. I remember going to this game and we were 3-0 down in 15 minutes. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing in Manchester? It was the 21st of December, so it's the weekend before Christmas. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, what am I doing here? But this year's a completely different kettle of fish. Orient are above Bolton. They're in the best form I've seen an Orient team in a very long time. There's potentially new owners coming in. They've got that exclusivity, if that makes sense. So they are proving that they can run the club, I think, near enough now. They put a lot of effort in on Tuesday night away at Wrexham. They've got another big game on Tuesday against Birmingham, so there will be a little bit of rotation. There was talk about Galbraith not playing this game because he needs a rest. And if you've watched Ethan Galbraith in the last sort of all season, really, how Swansea only bid £1 million, it wouldn't even buy his left leg, let alone Ethan Galbraith. But I think this should be probably obviously because it's my team, but one of the most interesting games of the weekend because I think there'll be goals. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw in this one.
You're both in exactly the same form in the last 5. Both 4 wins, 1 defeat in the last 5, I believe. So it's very, very tight. What's interesting is like you say, Orient are kind of perceived as the team in the best form in the league, whilst Bolton have had a mixed start. But it's kind of like the narratives that we've both got around these clubs. I'm really confused in this one because I can kind of see Orient winning. I'm going to go 3-1. I don't know what it is. I think you'll kind of shock them.
I am shocked.
And I'll go 3-1. I'll go 3-1. Why not?
Okay. I can't see a scoring. I think it'll be a really high scoring game, just purely because they're 2 teams that are really good going forward at the moment. Moving on to one team who is extremely good going forward, but extremely bad defensively, is Huddersfield Town versus Peterborough United. Poor old Peterborough, terrible away from home, terrible defensively against the Huddersfield side, who have seemed to have found their feet again after wobbling for a little while. Won their last 2, 5 points clear of 7th. But the only bad news to come out of Huddersfield at the moment is Herbie Kane is out for around 6 weeks. Peterborough have 1 win in 10 and have won 2 away games all season.
I'll go 3-1. I'll go straight in with this one. I just think Peterborough, they've completely lost it at this point. Like, they've got no motivation. The only thing that will keep them out of the drop zone this week, judging by my predictions, is the fact that neither Crawley or Burton will win. But Burton, I really wouldn't put it past Burton to beat Lincoln. They've done it before at the LNER. I remember it was a horrible night and they won. I think it was 1-0. It was the worst game of football I've ever watched. It wouldn't surprise me if Peterborough end this weekend in the drop zone. But if that's because of Lincoln City, I'll take it as a win-win, because if Lincoln lose this weekend, Peterborough will be in the drop zone. If Lincoln win this weekend, Lincoln win. So either way, it's a great weekend for Lincoln City, unless they both draw, in which point it's all useless. So
I've gone for 2-1 to Huddersfield in that one. Moving on to Charlton, who have slowly gone under the radar, I think, this season. No one's really actually mentioned them. They've only lost 2. They've got 2 defeats in 10, but 6 wins in that time. Has them 3 points off 6th, and they've only lost 2 home games all season. In terms of they've lost 2 home games all season, and in terms of the last 6 at home, they've won 5 and drew 1 of them, scoring 9 and conceding 2, which is matched by Birmingham City, who have just scored a goal more and conceded a goal less. And Exeter got their first win in 9 last time, which gives them a little bit more breathing room from the bottom 4 as they were slowly getting dragged in. Nathan Jones starting to work wonders, and the form of Matty Godden is starting to help, shall we say, because they've now got a goal scorer.
I'd say first win in 9, but beating Cambridge isn't exactly God's work at this point in time. I back Charlton. I still think Exeter are in a bit of trouble. And if Mansfield Town are in a relegation fight, then Exeter City also are definitely in a relegation scrap. I don't know why we're taking Nigel Clough's words as gospel, but apparently we are. So let's just say they're all in a relegation scrap this year. And I'll chuck it on. I'll chuck it on Charlton to come out of this 2-0.
Yep, exactly the same as me. Moving on to our final game is Mansfield Town versus Wrexham. Mansfield, obviously, as we've mentioned and spoken about, have lost their last 7 against a Wrexham side who, away from home, have won 3, drawn 1 and lost 2 of their last 6. I think Sam Smith and Joe Rodriguez are still trying to find a partnership together. I've read 15 goals, or it's 16 goals Wrexham have scored from set pieces this season, which is the league's highest, I believe. I've watched Wrexham quite a few times now, and they don't have a plan B. It is the wing back provide the width, the 8 support, but in transition they're extremely poor because they've got no real legs in the team. They're all quite unity, which is why they score so many set pieces. Away from home, they're quite poor, Wrexham. 5 wins, 4 draws, 5 defeats, and only the 14 scored. 2 wins in their last 6. I know Mansfield are completely out of form. Have got a lot of injuries. I've gone for a lot of draws this week, but I am going to back a draw. And judging by that, it means that Wycombe will have a very, very big buffer to Wrexham.
I cannot see a world in which Mansfield's first win in 9 games, as it will be, comes against Wrexham. Like, I cannot see it. It would make incredible footage for the documentary.
I'm very much looking forward to that documentary now.
I cannot see it happening, so I'll go. Mansfield will get on the score sheet, but I'll go 2-1 Wrexham.
Okay, I've gone for another 2-2 draw. For this one, so that wraps up. That wraps up this week's preview. It's gone really quickly, as they seem to always do. If you have enjoyed, make sure you leave a like and make sure you follow us on your preferred podcasting platform. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. It massively helps us out. And thank you everyone for listening. Take care, and we hope to see you all next week. And make sure to join Dramey and Seb for the review show later in the week.